"You left it here," the little girl said, standing before the buried safe. But when they dug it up, they discovered something incredible. Let me know what you thought of this story by rating it from 0 to 10 in the comments, and tell me what city you're watching from. I really want to know if you enjoyed my story and get to know you better, so please subscribe to my channel to support my work. I'm counting on your help. The rain hammered against the windows of the Blackwood Motors dealership office in Oakhaven, creating a melancholic symphony that echoed through the empty building. Arthur Blackwood, at 52, adjusted his glasses as he reviewed the day's sales contracts, trying to keep his mind busy to avoid thinking about the approaching date, the 3rd anniversary of Eliza's passing. 3 years without his wife, 3 years building a wall of work and silence around his heart. The sound of the rain was interrupted by something different, crying. Not the ordinary cry of a fussy child, but something desperate, a sound that cut through the damp March air like a plea. Arthur looked up from his papers and walked to the window, where the sight he found left him stunned. A small girl, no more than 4 years old, was standing on the sidewalk in front of his office, drenched by the torrential rain. Her clothes were in tatters, her brown hair stuck to her face by the water droplets, and she was pointing insistently at the vacant lot next to the building. Between sobs, Arthur could make out fragmented words about how he left it there. He promised he would come back. The tycoon felt something stir in his chest, a feeling he had buried long ago. Without a second thought, he ran down the stairs and opened the main door of the dealership. He called out to the girl, telling her to come inside or she would get sick. The child turned, revealing a small face marked by hunger and exhaustion. Her large, dark eyes shone with tears mixed with rainwater, but there was something else there, a determination that shouldn't exist in someone so young. She asked, with a fragile voice, heavy with desperate hope, if he would help her. He said he would come back. He promised. Arthur crouched down to her level, feeling the rain soak his expensive clothes. He asked who had promised to return and what her name was. She replied her name was Lily, wiping her nose with the back of her dirty hand. She explained that the handsome man said he would retrieve what was buried over there. She pointed again to the vacant lot, but he hadn't come back. It had been a long time. The businessman felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold rain. There was something in the child's urgency, in the way she spoke of something buried, that piqued his business instincts. Over years of building businesses in Oakhaven, he had learned to trust his gut, even when it made no logical sense. He told her to come inside before she got even sicker, extending his hand. Lily hesitated for a moment, looking between Arthur and the vacant lot. She pleaded for him to help her dig, saying there was something important there. He had said it was very important. Arthur told her that first they would get her dry and give her something warm to eat, and then they would talk about it. Inside the dealership, Arthur wrapped the girl in a blanket he kept in the office for cold winter nights. Lily trembled violently as he prepared hot cocoa with extra marshmallows, the only thing he had available in the office. He asked how long she'd been on the street. She didn't know how to count well, she answered, holding the mug with her 2 small hands. Many days. After her mommy got very quiet and didn't wake up anymore. Arthur's heart ached. The child was an orphan, living on the streets, and for some reason had appeared in front of his office, talking about something buried in the adjacent lot. It was as if fate had placed this situation in his path. He then asked about the man she mentioned, who he was. Lily's eyes lit up slightly. She said he used to visit her mommy when she was sick. He was handsome and wore nice clothes like his. He always brought medicine and food. She paused, her face saddening. Before her mommy got very quiet, he came one last time. He brought a shovel and dug in the lot. He said he was keeping something important there, something that someone would come for one day. Arthur felt a chill down his spine. There was something strangely specific in that story, something that set off alarms in his business-oriented mind. People didn't bury things randomly, especially in urban lots like that one. He asked Lily if she remembered what the man looked like, if she could describe him better. The girl closed her eyes, concentrating. She said he had dark hair like his, but a little longer, and he always smelled nice, just like him. Oh! Her eyes suddenly opened. He had a mark here on his arm. She pointed to her own wrist. A round, shiny mark. A watch. The man wore a watch on his wrist. Arthur automatically touched his own gold watch, an heirloom from his father. For some reason, Lily's description was stirring vague memories, as if he had seen someone like that before, but he couldn't place where or when. The rain began to subside, and through the window, Arthur could see the vacant lot Lily had pointed to. It was a small space, surrounded by low walls, covered in overgrown weeds, a perfect place to hide something without drawing attention. He asked Lily if she would like to stay there while he checked the lot, offering to have someone stay with her. "No," she exclaimed, grabbing his arm. She needed to go with him. He had said that one day someone would come for it, but only if the child was with them. He had said it was important for the child to be there. Arthur froze. Lily's words echoed in his mind with a disturbing clarity. A mysterious man visiting a sick woman who buried something important in a specific lot and who said a child needed to be present when someone came to get it. These weren't the words of a child making up stories. There was an adult logic behind them, like instructions left on purpose. The afternoon was ending, but there was still enough light. Arthur made a decision that would change everything. He agreed they would go together, but first, he needed to get some tools. 20 minutes later, Arthur and Lily stood in front of the vacant lot. He carried a shovel he had bought at the nearest hardware store, feeling ridiculous and at the same time compelled by a curiosity he couldn't explain. "Over there," Lily said, pointing to a specific corner of the lot, near a small tree. "That's where he dug." She saw it from her mommy's bedroom window. Arthur began to dig at the indicated spot. The soil was soft from the rain, making the work easier, but it still took nearly 2 hours to find something. When the shovel hit something metallic, his heart raced. He murmured that there was something here, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Lily approached, her eyes shining with expectation. "It's the box," she cried. She knew it was there. Carefully, Arthur removed the surrounding earth until he completely uncovered a small, rusty but still intact safe. It had a simple combination lock, already corroded by time and moisture. He wondered aloud how they would open it. The man said, "There was a special number," Lily replied. He told her mommy it was the day they met. Arthur looked at the lock. It was a 4-digit combination. He asked if she remembered her mother talking about when she met this man. Lily shook her head, frustrating Arthur. But then her eyes lit up again. "Wait. Mommy always talked about a special day. She said it was the happiest day of her life. It was. It was." She counted on her little fingers. 0703, July 3rd. Arthur dialed the numbers into the old lock. The mechanism resisted for a few seconds, then gave way with a dull click. When they opened the safe, they found exactly what would change Arthur's life forever. Old photographs, documents yellowed by time, and a gold wedding band that gleamed even in the faint light of the fading afternoon. Arthur picked up one of the photographs with trembling hands. It showed his late wife, Eliza, but a 20-year-old Eliza he had never seen before. She was embracing a man he didn't recognize, both smiling with an intimacy that made his world collapse. On the back of the photo, a date, March 2001, 2 years before he had met Eliza. His mind began to spin uncontrollably. If Eliza knew this man in 2001 and they seemed intimate in the photo, what did this mean about his relationship with her? about the marriage he had thought was perfect, about the secrets his wife had carried. Lily watched Arthur's face change from confusion to shock, not understanding what was happening. She asked if he knew the lady in the photo. Arthur couldn't answer immediately. His hands trembled as he picked up another item from the safe, a sealed envelope with his own name, written in Eliza's handwriting. Arthur stood motionless for several minutes, holding the envelope with his name written in Eliza's familiar script. Lily remained by his side, watching him with childlike curiosity, not comprehending the emotional storm devastating the man she had just met. She asked gently if he was okay, tugging on the hem of his shirt. He took a deep breath, putting the envelope in his pocket without opening it. Not there. Not in front of the child, not while his mind was still processing the shock of the photographs. He said he was fine and that they should collect these things and go back inside. Back in the dealership office, Arthur carefully spread the contents of the safe on his desk. Besides the disturbing photographs, there were documents that made his blood run cold. Bank statements from an account he never knew existed, all in Eliza's name, showing regular deposits during the 3 years leading up to her death. He asked Lily, trying to keep his voice calm, if she remembered the name of the man who visited her mother. The girl was sitting in a chair too big for her, swinging her little legs. "Mommy called him Julian," she said. "He was very kind to her, always bringing small toys and sweets." Julian. The name echoed in Arthur's mind like a funeral bell. He knew that name. He was sure of it. But from where? He closed his eyes, forcing his memory to work. Julian. Accountant. Yes, there was an accountant named Julian who provided services for several companies in the region years ago. He asked if Lily's mother worked. Yes, she did. She did accounts for people. She had many papers at home, always writing numbers. The girl paused, her face saddening. But after she got sick, she stopped working. That's when Julian started coming more often. An accountant. Eliza had also dealt with numbers, managing part of the finances for his dealerships. If she knew Julian, and if he was also an accountant, perhaps they had worked together on some project. But that didn't explain the intimacy of the photographs, nor the secret bank account. Arthur picked up his phone and called his current accounting office. "Robert," he said, he needed some urgent information. Did he know an accountant named Julian? Julian Miles, who worked in the area a few years back. Robert confirmed he knew of him. Julian Miles. He provided services for several companies here in Oak Haven until he suddenly disappeared in 2021. Robert asked why he was asking. Exactly the year Eliza had died in an accident. Disappeared how? Arthur asked. He just stopped showing up, Robert explained. Cancelled all his contracts overnight and no one saw him again. He heard he had a family, but didn't know the details. Arthur hung up the phone, his heart racing. The pieces were starting to fit together in a disturbing way. Julian disappeared the same year Eliza passed away. A coincidence? Unlikely. He asked Lily where they lived. In a small house near downtown, she replied. Mommy said it was borrowed. She hesitated, as if trying to remember something important. Julian paid for things for us. Food, medicine for Mommy, my clothes. Arthur's stomach turned. Julian was supporting Lily and her mother. Why? What was the connection between them all? And why had Eliza never mentioned knowing an accountant named Julian? He decided to open the envelope. With trembling fingers, he carefully tore the old seal and pulled out a handwritten letter in Eliza's unmistakable script. The first lines made his legs weak. My dearest Arthur, if you are reading this, it means our secrets have finally come to light. I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you, but there were things in my past I couldn't tell you, for your protection and the protection of our family. Arthur stopped reading, looking at Lily, who was playing silently with a small toy car she had found in a drawer. Family? What family was Eliza protecting? He continued reading. Julian is not just an accountant, Arthur. He is my brother, my half-brother to be precise. Our father had a relationship with his mother years before he met my mother, but we only found this out when we met by chance in 2001. The photo you must have seen was taken the day we discovered we were family. Brother. Arthur felt relief mixed with confusion. At least it wasn't an extramarital affair. But why would Eliza hide having a brother, and why did he disappear? The letter went on. When I found out I was sick in 2020, Julian began to help me organize our finances to protect you and our company from possible future complications. We created a separate account where we deposited part of the legal profits from the construction company, an emergency reserve that would only be accessed if something happened to me. Arthur stopped reading again. An emergency reserve? But he had never authorized transfers of company money to private accounts. How did Eliza have access to the construction company's resources? It was then that he remembered Eliza had power of attorney for the company's financial matters. He had given it to her when they married as a sign of trust. She could technically make transfers without his direct authorization. The account you found contains approximately $847,000, money we set aside over 2 years. Julian helped me do this discreetly so as not to harm the company's cash flow. It was our guarantee that if something happened to me, you would have the resources to keep the business stable during the period of mourning and adjustment. $847,000, a considerable sum, but not absurd for a company the size of Arthur's dealerships. And the explanation made sense from a financial standpoint. Eliza had always been concerned with planning and security. But there were still questions. Why did Julian disappear? And what was his connection to Lily and her mother? Arthur, I need to tell you about Sarah, the woman Julian loved. She was also an accountant and worked with us for the last 2 years. Sarah discovered she was gravely ill at the same time I received my diagnosis. By a cruel coincidence, 2 women who worked together faced the same battle at the same time. Sarah. Lily's mother's name was Sarah. Arthur felt his heart race again. Sarah and Julian were not officially married, but they lived as a family. When they learned she didn't have much time, they decided it would be best for Julian to disappear from the city after she passed, so he wouldn't have to face the painful memories. But Sarah was worried about her daughter. Lily looked at Arthur, noticing he had stopped fidgeting with the papers. "Sir, did you know my mommy?" he replied, his voice thick with emotion, that perhaps he knew her from a distance. He told her to continue playing. He was just reading some important papers. The letter continued. Sarah asked Julian to create a plan to ensure that if something happened to her and he couldn't take care of Lily, the girl would have a chance to find a good family. Julian knew your reputation in the city, knew you were an upstanding and generous man. The buried safe was his idea, a way to ensure that if Lily needed help, she would know where to find resources and information. Arthur looked at the girl with completely different eyes. She hadn't appeared there by chance. The whole situation had been orchestrated by Julian as a contingency plan to protect Sarah's daughter. The instructions he gave Lily about finding someone to retrieve what was buried were not vague. He chose that lot specifically because it's in front of your dealerships. He hoped that if the day came when Lily needed help, she would eventually find you. The plan was both genius and desperate. Julian had created a mechanism for his adopted daughter to find a safe family, but it depended on a series of coincidences that might not have happened. Arthur, if you are reading this, it means Sarah is gone, and Julian was unable to care for Lily as planned. The girl is an orphan of both biological parents, but Julian raised her as his daughter since she was 2. If he is no longer in her life, it is because something prevented him from being there. He would never abandon that child willingly. A cold chill ran down Arthur's spine. If Julian wouldn't abandon Lily, but she was on the streets, what had happened to him? The letter ended with a request that would change everything. If fate has brought Lily to you, I ask you to consider taking care of her, not as charity, but as the continuation of a circle of protection that began when Julian and I discovered we were siblings. The money in the account is available to cover everything she needs: education, health, well-being. She is a special child, Arthur, intelligent, brave, and full of love to give. Signed, Eliza. Arthur folded the letter carefully, his eyes welling up. Lily had stopped playing and was watching him with concern. "Mr. Arthur, are you sad?" He knelt in front of her, seeing for the first time not just a lost child, but a girl who had been loved, planned for, and protected by people who cared deeply about her future. He asked if she would like to stay at his house that night. Tomorrow they would look for Julian and find out what happened. The girl's eyes lit up for the first time since he'd met her. Could she really? He wouldn't send her away. "No, little one," he said. "I think you were right from the beginning. The handsome man really wanted someone to come and get what was buried. And maybe he wanted me to find you." That night, as Lily slept in the guest room of his house, Arthur lay awake, planning how to find Julian and uncover the whole truth about the connection between their lives, intertwined in ways he had never imagined. The next morning brought a different kind of awakening for Arthur. For the first time in 3 years, he didn't wake up alone in his silent mansion. The sound of little footsteps echoing down the hall and Lily's soft voice humming in the kitchen brought a feeling he had forgotten, the feeling of having a family. When he went down for breakfast, he found the girl sitting at the large table, looking lost in front of a plate that seemed bigger than her. Her clothes from the previous night were clean but still in tatters, and Arthur felt a pang of guilt for not having thought of it sooner. "Good morning, little one," he said. "Did you sleep well?" She had, but she hesitated, biting her lip, and asked when they would look for Julian. "Today," he replied. "But first, they needed to get her some proper clothes." Lily's eyes widened. "New clothes? For her?" "Of course," he said. "You can't walk around in those old things." Arthur felt his chest tighten at the genuine gratitude on the girl's face. And afterward, they would go to the bank to access the account that Eliza had mentioned. During breakfast, Arthur watched Lily with renewed attention. The girl had polite manners, spoke well for her age, and showed a sharp intelligence that did not go unnoticed. Sarah had raised a well-behaved child, despite the difficulties. He asked Lily if she remembered the last time she saw Julian. The girl stopped eating and grew serious. It was the day Mommy got very quiet. He came in the morning, cried a lot, and then said he had to leave to take care of important things. He promised he would be back in a few days. Her words came out softer, but he didn't come back. He asked what happened next. She was alone in the house for a few days. There was food he had brought, but then the food ran out and a lady showed up who said the house wasn't theirs anymore. She put her on the street. Anger rose in Arthur's chest. A 4-year-old child had been literally abandoned to her fate. He asked how long ago that happened. "Many days," she said. "She slept in different places." Asked for food at people's doors. Some people gave her food, others sent her away. Lily looked at him with wide eyes. "That's why I remembered what Julian said about the buried treasure. I thought if I found it, I could buy food." The child's innocence broke Arthur's heart. She had faced weeks on the streets alone, driven only by the hope of finding something that would help her survive. After breakfast, they headed to their first stop, a children's clothing store in downtown Oakhaven. Arthur had never bought clothes for a child and felt completely lost among the colorful aisles. He told Lily to choose whatever she liked, watching her eyes sparkle as if she had entered an amusement park. Could she really choose anything? She asked, carefully touching a yellow floral dress. Anything. The shopping process was revealing for Arthur. Lily didn't choose the most expensive or flashy clothes. She selected practical and pretty items, always asking if he was sure she could take them. She was a child who had learned not to ask for much from life. "Mr. Arthur," she said while trying on a new pair of shoes, "why are you being so good to me?" The question caught him off guard. How could he explain to a 4-year-old the complex ties of fate that had brought them together? He replied that he thought we should take care of each other, and that she reminded him of people who were very important to him. At the store, while waiting for Lily to change, Arthur received a call from his current accountant, Robert. He said that Arthur had asked for information about Julian Miles yesterday, and he had managed to find out a few more things. Arthur told him to speak. He had a house registered in his partner's name, Sarah Kent, in the Maple Street neighborhood. But according to his findings, the house was repossessed by the bank about a month ago for non-payment. A month. That meant he had been missing for longer than he'd imagined. There was more. He had gotten the contact of a neighbor who knew the family. She said that Julian left home one morning in March and never came back, leaving the sick woman and the small child alone. Arthur felt a knot in his stomach. March, exactly when Lily had appeared in front of his office. "Robert, did this neighbor say if he mentioned where he was going?" She said he mentioned something about going to Silver Creek to solve an urgent family problem. But that was over a month ago. Silver Creek. A small town about 2 hours from Oakhaven. Arthur knew the area. He had some clients there through the dealerships. "Thanks, Robert," he said. "Let me know if you find out anything else." When Lily came out of the fitting room in her new clothes, she looked like a completely different child. The yellow dress enhanced her brown hair, and the new shoes made her walk with more confidence. "How do I look?" she asked, twirling for him to see. "Beautiful," Arthur answered sincerely. "Now let's go to the bank." At the bank, Arthur's manager saw them personally. When he presented the documents from the safe and explained the situation, the man was visibly moved. "Mr. Blackwood, the account does exist, and the available amount is $847. But there is a special note left by Mrs. Blackwood." "What kind of note?" "She left specific instructions that the money could only be moved if you came in person, accompanied by a child named Lily, and presented this letter as authorization." The manager pointed to Eliza's letter that Arthur was carrying, more proof that everything had been meticulously planned. Eliza and Julian were sure that if the contingency day ever came, Arthur would do the right thing. "There's one more thing," the manager continued. "Mrs. Blackwood left a second letter stored here at the bank, with instructions for it to be delivered only if you came accompanied by the girl." The manager brought a sealed envelope. Inside was another note from Eliza. "Arthur, if you have come this far with Lily, it means our family has expanded in the way we hoped. The girl is not just Julian's daughter by heart, she also carries in her blood the same family as me. Sarah discovered, shortly before she passed, that she was also our father's daughter. Lily is my legitimate niece, your niece by marriage. Take care of her as you took care of me. With love, Eliza." Arthur had to sit down. Lily wasn't just a child that fate had thrown in his path. She was literally family, his niece, the last living connection to Eliza. "Mr. Arthur?" Lily tugged his sleeve, worried by his expression. "Did something bad happen?" "No, little one. Something very good happened. We found out we're family, real family, real family." Leaving the bank, Arthur made a decision. They needed to go to Silver Creek to find Julian. Lily had the right to know what had happened to the man who raised her as a daughter, and he needed answers about why Julian had disappeared so abruptly. "Lily," he said, "we're going on a trip. We're going to look for Julian in a town called Silver Creek. Are we really? He'll be so happy to see me." The child's pure hope contrasted with Arthur's growing concern. If Julian had gone to solve an urgent family problem and hadn't returned in over a month, abandoning a sick Sarah and Lily, something was very wrong. During the drive to Silver Creek, Lily slept in the passenger seat, lulled by the vehicle's movement. Arthur used the silence to process all the revelations of the past 2 days. In 48 hours, his solitary life had been completely transformed. Now he had a niece, a responsibility, and a mystery to solve. Arriving in Silver Creek in the late afternoon, they stopped at the only hotel in the small town. Arthur rented 2 rooms and decided to start his investigation the next day, but during dinner at the hotel restaurant, a casual conversation with the receptionist changed everything. "You're not the first to look for Julian," she said when Arthur mentioned his name. "2 weeks ago, a woman came here asking the same questions." "A woman? What did she look like?" "About your age, well-dressed, driving an expensive car. She seemed very nervous and said it was urgent to find Julian." The receptionist lowered her voice. "But there was something strange. She specifically asked if he had come with a small child." Arthur felt a shiver. Who else was looking for Julian, and why did they want to know about Lily? Did this woman give her name? "She said it was Victoria. Victoria something. I don't remember the last name. Victoria." The name echoed in Arthur's mind like an alarm. He knew only one Victoria, Victoria Blackwood, his sister-in-law. Eliza's older sister, who had always been distant and had disappeared from his life after the funeral. If Victoria was looking for Julian, and if she knew about Lily, it meant there were far more family secrets than he imagined. And for the first time since he had found the girl, Arthur felt they might be in danger. Arthur barely slept that night. The mention of Victoria had awakened memories he preferred to keep buried. His sister-in-law had always been a calculating and manipulative woman who, after Eliza's death, had tried to convince him to sell the dealerships and start a new life somewhere else. At the time, he had interpreted it as sisterly concern, but now he suspected there were other motives. In the morning, while Lily was having breakfast in the hotel restaurant, Arthur decided to make some calls. The first was to his lawyer in Oakhaven. "Mr. Davis, I need you to investigate some things about my sister-in-law, Victoria Blackwood. I want to know about her financial situation over the last 2 years. Is there a specific problem, Arthur? Let's just say some inconsistencies have arisen regarding the period before Eliza's passing. I need to understand if Victoria was facing financial difficulties. I'll check and get back to you today." The second call was more difficult. Arthur needed to contact someone who knew Julian's family in Silver Creek well. After a few tries, he got the phone number of a distant cousin of Julian's through his accountant, Robert. "Mr. Evans? My name is Arthur Blackwood. I'm looking for information about Julian Miles." "Ah, Julian. So sad what happened." Arthur's heart pounded. "Sad? What happened to him? You didn't hear." "He had a car accident almost a month ago on the road between here and Oakhaven. He spent 2 weeks in the hospital in Silver Creek in serious condition." The man's voice grew lower. "He managed to survive, but he left the hospital with memory problems. He couldn't remember much." Arthur felt both relief and worry. Julian was alive, but with memory issues. Where is he now? "He's here at home with me. He had nowhere to go, didn't even really remember where he lived. He just knew he had a daughter, but couldn't remember where she was." "Mr. Evans, can I visit him today? I brought his daughter with me." "Lily? My goodness, where has she been all this time?" "Julian cries every night because he can't remember where he left her." Arthur briefly explained the situation, and Mr. Evans gave him the address. When he hung up, he found Lily watching him expectantly. "That was about Julian, wasn't it? Is he okay?" "Yes, little one. He's okay, but he went through some trouble. We're going to visit him now." Mr. Evans' house was on the outskirts of Silver Creek, a simple but welcoming home. When they knocked on the door, a man of about 60 answered with a warm smile. "You must be Arthur, and this princess is Lily. Lily nodded shyly, hiding behind Arthur. She didn't remember Mr. Evans well, but she recognized something familiar in his kind face. He's in the backyard. He likes to be out there, says the trees help him think. Mr. Evans led them through the house. But I have to warn you, he's not remembering much yet. The doctors say it might come back slowly, or it might never come back completely. In the backyard, under the shade of a mango tree, a man of about 45 was sitting in a rocking chair, flipping through a photo album with a concentrated expression. When he heard their footsteps, he looked up. Lily let go of Arthur's hand and ran toward the man. "Julian! Julian, I found you!" The man looked at her with confusion for a moment. Then his face lit up with an uncertain smile. "Lily? My little Lily?" "Yes, it's me. You promised you'd come back." Julian hugged the girl tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I knew you existed. I knew I had a little girl somewhere, but I couldn't remember." He looked at Arthur over Lily's head. "You took care of her? Thank you. Thank you so much." Arthur approached and introduced himself. "I'm Arthur, Eliza's husband, Eliza." Julian repeated the name slowly. "My sister, Eliza. I remember her. She was good, very good." His eyes filled with tears again. "And Sarah. My Sarah is gone, isn't she? I remember that. Yes, Julian, Sarah passed away a little over a month ago. But Lily is fine. I'm taking care of her. Over the next 2 hours..." Arthur carefully told Julian everything he had discovered. The safe, Eliza's letters, the bank account, and most importantly, the fact that Lily was also Eliza's niece. Julian listened intently, some memories returning in fragments. "I remember burying that safe," he said finally. "It was our security plan. If I couldn't take care of Lily, you would." He looked at the girl playing with a cat in the yard. "But I don't remember why I came to Silver Creek. Your cousin said you came to solve an urgent family problem." Julian frowned, concentrating. Family problem. Suddenly his eyes widened. Victoria. It was about Victoria. What about her? She found out about the money, about the account we created with Eliza. She called me days after Sarah passed, saying she knew everything and that if I didn't split the money with her, she would tell you that Eliza had embezzled funds from the company. Arthur felt anger rising in his chest. Blackmail. She arranged a meeting here in Silver Creek, said she had proof that Eliza and I were stealing from you. But it wasn't true. The money was legitimate. It was our safety net. Julian held his head, forcing the memories. I came to meet her, to explain, to show that everything was properly documented. And what happened at the meeting? That part I can't remember clearly. I just remember driving on the road very nervous and then waking up in the hospital. At that moment, Arthur's phone rang. It was Mr. Davis, his lawyer. "Arthur, I investigated your sister-in-law. Her situation is dire. She owes over $300,000 in loans and financing. Her credit is ruined. And there's more. She tried to contest Eliza's will 2 months ago, claiming there were hidden assets." Everything clicked in Arthur's mind. Victoria was desperate for money and knew about the secret account. She had blackmailed Julian to get a share of the funds. But something had gone wrong at their meeting. "Mr. Davis, I need you to do one more investigation. I want to know if Victoria was in Silver Creek the day Julian had his accident. That might take a few days. Do it urgently. I think we've uncovered something very serious." When he hung up, he found Julian looking at him with concern. "Victoria did something to me, didn't she? We don't know for sure yet, but we're going to find out." He spent the afternoon talking with Julian and watching his reunion with Lily. Despite the memory loss, the love between them was evident. Julian remembered the songs he sang to her, her favorite games, and most of all, he remembered how much he loved her. "Arthur," Julian said at the end of the afternoon, "I want you to have custody of her." "What?" "Lily needs stability, a structured family, an education. You can give that to her. I may not be able to be the father she deserves anymore." Arthur looked at Lily, who was playing happily in the yard, humming the same song he had heard on the first day. "And if your memory comes back completely, if it does, I'll be the uncle who visits on weekends and loves her very much. But you'll be her father." Julian smiled sadly. "That's what Eliza planned from the beginning, wasn't it? She knew that if something happened to me and Sarah, you would take care of her." That night at the hotel, Arthur received the call that would confirm his suspicions. Mr. Davis had discovered that Victoria was indeed in Silver Creek on the day of Julian's accident, and that she had filed a police report claiming her car was damaged by an animal on the road. Arthur, cross-referencing the information, Julian's accident happened at the same time and approximate location where Victoria reported the damage to her car. "It's not a coincidence. She caused the accident." "It seems so, probably during an argument or a chase. But since Julian has memory problems, there's no way to prove intent." Arthur decided not to press charges against Victoria. The important thing was that Lily was safe and Julian was alive. Confronting his sister-in-law about the accident would only bring more suffering to everyone. 2 months later, back in Oakhaven, Arthur had formalized his guardianship of Lily. Julian had moved into a small house near the city, where he was slowly recovering his memories and visiting his daughter every weekend. Victoria had disappeared from their lives after a serious conversation where Arthur made it clear he knew everything. The secret bank account had been transferred to a savings account in Lily's name for her future education, and the remaining money was being used to keep Julian comfortable during his recovery. On a Sunday afternoon, while Lily was playing in the garden at home with Julian, Arthur found the last letter Eliza had left in the safe, one he hadn't fully read before. "Arthur, if everything happened as we planned, you now have a daughter. It doesn't matter if she came through blood or through the heart. Lily is our continuation in this world. Love her as I would have loved her. Protect her as I would have protected her. And remember that sometimes the truest families are the ones we choose to build. With all my love, your eternal Eliza." Arthur folded the letter and put it in his pocket, watching Lily run across the garden, shouting with joy as Julian chased her in a game of tag. For the first time in 3 years, his house was alive again. For the first time since he lost Eliza, he had a family. And for the first time since that rainy March afternoon when a wet little girl had pointed to a vacant lot, Arthur understood that sometimes love finds us in the most unexpected ways, buried in safes that can only be opened when we are ready to discover that we were never truly alone. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring you videos every day that will make your life happier. Comment what you thought of my story by giving it a rating from 0 to 10, and thank you very much.